I'd just moved to a really nice neighborhood and was relieved to escape the shitty hellhole I was living in before. My last apartment was in a bad part of town, and the crime rate was high. The neighborhood was filled with drugs and police activity day in and day out. My new apartment is not only inexpensive, as luck may have it, I finally feel safe. Not that I didn't feel safe at my last place, it was just getting to me, and I wanted a change. And change is what I got. I live right around the corner from a beautiful lake. There is a really nice coffee shop in walking distance, and my neighbors are quiet and respectful. There is even a patio bar that plays live music on the weekends. I was all moved in. It's not a big place, only about 800 square feet. Located within a 2-story secured building, with 6 apartments on each floor, and 2 in the basement, along with a laundry room. The first month I lived there was incredible. Everyone in the building was so nice. I was also able to get to know the people at the coffee shop and the bar pretty well and make some new friends. I really enjoyed seeing people walking their dogs at the lake. Only 30 days in and everything was about to change. I came home one night after work, and I entered the building, which wasn't locked for some reason. I proceeded up the stairs to my apartment. As I was pulling my keys out to unlock the door, I realized my door was already ajar a few inches. I pushed it open aggressively to create a big bang, hoping if someone was inside that it might scare them. My place was so small I could see into the kitchen and the living room. I didn't see anyone, so I stepped in further. I always leave my bedroom door open and approached the doorway, leaning in to investigate. I still didn't see anyone. I walked into my bedroom so I would be able to see into my bathroom, again no one. I opened my closet door just to be on the safe side and saw nothing. I was relieved, but at the same time, still concerned. From a quick glance, I could see nothing had been stolen. My laptop was still on the coffee table. My television and little stereo were in place. Nothing was missing from my dresser drawers. Everything was in order, just as I had left it. I called the police out to make a report. I tried knocking on my neighbors' doors to ask if they had noticed anyone, but none of them answered. I locked my apartment door and walked downstairs to knock on their doors. Still no answer. I could see the police pulling up from behind the front glass door of the lobby. I let them in and explained what had happened. Without any actual crime to report, there wasn't much they could say or do. I'll say it was eerie being in my apartment the rest of the night. I didn't feel well at all, and I barely got any sleep. The next day, as I was heading out for work, chills ran through my body. My door was open again. This time a bit wider than before. I shut it, locked the deadbolt, and called 911 immediately. This time I waited until they rang my door buzzer. I didn't even want to go into the hallway to meet them. I waited till they knocked on my door. I explained to them what happened yesterday and how the same thing happened to me again before going to work. They were puzzled and would check with some of the neighbors to see if they saw anybody or heard anything. They also advised me to get a hold of the landlord and to have my locks changed. I would do just that. I called him up and told him what happened. He said he was sorry to hear what I had been through, and he would have someone come out within the next hour. The police must have knocked on every door in my building with no luck because no one answered. They thought that was odd, or maybe just one hell of a coincidence, one of them said. I was not only 3 hours late for work, I was also asked to stay later than I normally do. Later that evening, when I was coming home from work, my apartment building was surrounded by police. With a crowd of spectators looking on, there were tons of police, and in the back of the building I could see an ambulance. I made my way up to the building as far as I could, due to the fact that it was taped off. I asked a female officer, "What's going on? I live here." "Well, we can't let you in right now. This building is a crime scene." "What do you mean?" I asked. "I can't say much, but from the looks of it, my guess would be maybe a family dispute. We are going to be here for a while investigating." Just then, one of my neighbors from down the hall walked over to me. "What's going on?" I said to Deborah. "I'm not sure. I just got here about 30 minutes ago." I overheard an officer tell another one that it looks like a domestic violence turned into murder, then suicide. one victim in the hallway and another one in the apartment. I asked her, "Do you know who it was?" "I'm not sure who, but they have Gina over there in that police car, and Robert, you know the guy that lives in the studio apartment in the basement? He's over there in that car getting interviewed." I looked at both police cars and I said, "What's up with the sheet over the entry to the building?" Deborah replied, "I'm not sure. I assume they have the sheet hanging over the door so no one can look in. I think one of the bodies is lying just on the other side of the door." "How are we supposed to get into our apartments?" was my next question. "I'm not sure, but one of the police officers told me to hang tight, and that they might have some questions for me." That was all she told me. At that moment, a few officers approached us. "You're Deborah, right? I talked to you earlier," said the female officer. "Yes, that's correct, and this is Krista, and she also lives in the building." The female officer spoke again. "Unfortunately, we're going to be here for a couple more hours." One of the detectives with a pen and pad in his hands asked, "Do you guys know the couple in Unit B-3? I said to them, "B-3, that's my apartment." Chills went throughout my body and I had instant goosebumps. Both detectives looked at each other. "What's going on? What do you mean B3? That's my apartment." "Well, apparently your door looks to have been kicked in. Do you have a roommate or a family member staying with you?" "No, I don't." Still shaking, I said, "I don't understand what's going on." "Well, that's what we are trying to figure out, Krista." Just then we were told to hang tight. The detectives were pulled away from our questioning by a couple of patrol officers. "What the hell's going on, Deborah?" She just shrugged, equally puzzled. "I have no idea, Krista." The two of us watched as 4 law enforcement officers were talking to each other 20 feet away from where we stood. After 10 more minutes had passed, a female detective and her male partner approached us. "You guys know Robert and Gina, I assume?" "Just a little bit," we both said, looking at each other. "Well, Gina told us she was just getting home from work and ran into the woman that used to occupy your apartment, Krista. She let her in the building so she could check her mail, and from what she told us, she was panicked when she saw her ex-boyfriend pulling up in front of the building. He had the key to the main door and a set of keys to your apartment. They made eye contact, and she took off running to the back of the building, and then downstairs to the basement. Her ex-boyfriend had made entry into the building running past Gina, assuming his ex-girlfriend still lived in Unit B3. He tried the key that he had with no luck. He then kicked in the door. He then heard her knocking on doors in the basement yelling for help. He made his way down the stairs at the back of the building, and that is where she saw him. She ran up the stairs in the front of the building in a panic. Instead of running out the front door, perhaps not to put Gina in danger, who was outside calling 911 at the time, Gina saw the young woman make her way back to her old apartment. Unfortunately, her ex-boyfriend caught up to her and shot her. He was on his way back to his car in the front of the building, and that's where he was met by officers. That's when he took his own life. Your neighbor Robert feels so bad because he was listening to music through his headphones at the time. He said he didn't take them off until he heard the first shot, and then he called the police. Looks like we have it all figured out. Like I said, we might still be a while yet. Is there anywhere you ladies can go for now? I can get your cell phone numbers and let you know when we get this all wrapped up. I'm really sorry for the inconvenience. Deborah and I had decided to go down to the coffee shop. I told her about my door being opened and how that must have been him. Maybe he was playing games with her or something. I don't know. That part will always be puzzling to me. I can tell you, I was never going back to that building again. I called up my old landlord to see if he had rented my place yet. He told me that he did not. I explained my situation and he felt bad for me. We met up with each other and he handed me the keys to my old place while saying, "Welcome back." I can actually say, I felt safe being back in my old neighborhood.